Good evening, SBC. Good evening, SBCC. Good evening, BSL. And good evening to everyone, north, south, east, and west, and in between. This is the Tuesday, 2002 edition of SBC Tuesday Talk. Glad that you can make it and join us on this fantabulous journey we will have tonight. I am your host and moderator, Mr. Michael Walker. Glad to have you here. And we're going to have a good time tonight, at least hopefully. So let's get with the salutations. Hey, Charlene, good. Sister Madison, always good to see you. Erica Joyce, glad to have you here. Jewel Mendoza, good evening to you. Deanna Lewis, glad to have you here. Kitty McCat, hello to you. Teresa Jones, hello. Please bring us some ice cream to the after party, okay? Brother Marcus Wilbanks, salutations to everyone. Thank you. Jenna Morgan, good to have you here. Yvonne Rice, is this your first time here? Let us know. Glad to have you here. Rhonda, good to see you here. Valerie Zachary from North Alabama, good to have you here. And oops, I'm not going to butcher your name, though, so I say Miss Sister Harmon. Good to have you here. We got a lot of folks, new folks showing up. Lavita Anderson, good to have you. Who else? Sean Johnson, good, always good. Yvonne Taylor, definitely glad to have you here. Sonia Jones, good to have you. Angela Morgan, good to have you here. Gwen, your first time here, glad to have you here. And hopefully, this will not be your last. So I think that's about it, though. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much. Let us introduce our wonderful panelists, knowledgeable panelists for tonight. Starting from the right, we have from the Commonwealth of Virginia, Sister Andrea. How you doing, Andrea? We got from Chicago, Brother BL Fours. Good to have you here. We got from South Carolina, our good friend Reginald. Good to have you here. And we got from the West Coast, California, Kirsten. Good to have you here this evening. Okay, let's get started, y'all. Let's get good and started. We start dating. Okay. Well, I didn't mean to put that there. Well, might as well let it stay there. We start dating. We start dating, maybe first date, maybe the first couple of dates, first month of dating. You out having a good time though. But the question is, should finances be a concern within that period? Should finances be a concern within that period? And I got this video from Steven Speaks, and it kind of gives an interesting perspective on it. Y'all take a listen.
Should a man be financially stable before he starts dating?
He should. I believe he should. I believe if he wants the best results possible, yes. Again, he don't got to be rich, but you got to be able to take care of yourself. If you need her to survive, and when I say her, any woman to come in your life to survive, that's a problem. Because here is what happens in a lot of situations. Men tend to pick women based on where they are in life. All right?
Okay.
Which is why you'll see the situations where guys who were once broke were with one kind of woman.
Yeah.
They get famous or rich, and now they switch up.
Right.
And people will say they switched up, and I say, no, they didn't switch up. Their true colors finally came out.
Yes.
They always wanted that woman.
Yes.
They could not afford that woman. All right? They were not in a position to get that woman. So they took what they can get. And unfortunately, they're taking that woman on the premise of what she can do for them, not what he will do for her.
Okay. So does finances, we heard what the video said, but does finances matter in dating? We're not talking about relationships, even though sometimes dating do lead to relationships. Some people think they're the same thing, though. interchangeable, what have you, though. The question is, should finances matter in the dating stages? Go ahead, Dr. Biff.
I think it should because, I mean, if you're going to meet someone, for the most part, it's going to cost you, whether you're taking the bus, Uber, gas in your car, it's going to cost you financially to do that. If you're going on a date, traditional dates, whether it's Starbucks or whether it's the five-star restaurant, that cost, whether you're paying for her meal or you're paying for your own, it's still going to cost you. And I think finances, it matters. It's whether it matters 95% or 5%, it still matters. And I think that it's relevant. And me personally, I remember there was a time when I was laid off. I did not want to um, go out during that time because my priorities at that particular time
Mm-hmm.
for the type of person how I'd like to date, I did not want to go out, though I could done some economical things or whatever, but because of my personal standard, it was a decision I chose not to do.
Mm, okay. That's pretty good right there. Anyone else?
I don't know. I agree um, with VL, but I also think that it kind of depends on how you look at dating, because some people look at dating as being, you know, I pay for myself, they pay for themselves, and it's separate, as opposed to maybe coming together. I might treat you, he may treat me, and I think that that plays into some of it. So I guess it depends on what level of dating you are. If you're moving in a direction that's more relationship-ish, that might change,
Mm-hmm.
you know but I don't know, because I don't think, I mean, I personally have never, I've dated individuals who I knew were having some financial concerns,
Mm-hmm.
but in saying that, it was never a concern to the point where I felt like an obligation to them, and they would say it, we can't, what do you want to do? My finances are a little bit low. Why don't we do this over something else?
Mm-hmm.
And I understood that because things happen, you know. But if it got to a point where every time we went out, it came out of, my pocketbook,
Mm.
then that there might be more concern than I would, on something, it being another way.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, go ahead, Kirsten. You muted. You muted. You-
So, it didn't call me again. I'm back.
yeah. Okay.
Okay. Um, I have to say this. I agree with Andrea. I agree with Victor totally 100%. But I think we, as in a dating perspective that we are in as singles, a lot of I can't say on the women's side because I'm the woman that is being pursued by the man. But look, brothers, y'all ain't got a lie to kick it.
Mm.
Why you gotta lie? Why you gotta lie? You perpetrating a fraud. You bringing a knife to a gunfight. Just be honest. And that I run into that. I have run into that in the past more than just being honest. Um, why? You know, I don't necessarily understand why. It could be the profession that I'm in, or we as women, whatever profession we find ourselves in. Is it the car we drive? Is it the way we speak or carry ourselves? You want to deal with the saposexual, but you're not quite there yet. It's all these different things that we're having to deal with as women, that you just don't have to lie to kick it. Don't get me wrong, I know that there's women out there that will do the same thing. You know, if and I agree with Leslie. If you can't afford to pay for yourself, we don't need to go on a date. I truly believe that. But you don't have to lie to kick it. You don't have to sit there and, you know, decide to go to a steak restaurant and you decide to eat the appetizer, can't you? Because you can't afford to eat a steak for her and you too. You know, just let's go Dutch or let's just not go out at all. How about that? I'm just saying. Anyway, I would never knock a man for where he is financially, especially if he's working on being better than himself. But just don't lie about it. Be honest about it, and then let's move on from there.
Okay.
How about that?
I'm gonna get to Reginald, but let me say this. Well, at least I'll ask this though. Does it depend on gender? Will a man be so intimidated by a woman who has I guess, a higher job than he does? Would that cause him to kind of, like you said, fake the funk? You know, and then for the females out there, have y'all been intimidated to the point about a man who was well to do? Did you pretend to have your finances in good standing? So I'm trying to see how it plays amongst the gender. Bro Reginald.
Well, I agree with all the panelists up to this point, but I tend to look at things in more realistic terms. With this economy that we're in now, um, going out to eat and doing extracurricular activities, one has to understand their own finances. Okay, when it costs you over $50 to fill up your tank for gas, and with this clown in Russia are going to attack Ukraine, gas is going to go up probably about $4 a gallon. And so that means food is going up. That means clothes is going up. Everything is going up and up and up and up. And so when you're looking at dating and finances, yes, finances plays a major part, unless you're a type of individual that has a 6 or 7 figure bank account. You know, but if you are a medium income individual or a low income individual, yes, you need to look at finance, because the worst thing you can do is try to impress somebody and go in debt. Okay, if you maybe you can't go to Ruth's Chris, maybe you need to go to Red Lobster. But if you talking to a female and she's like, "Well, I don't like Red Lobster," it's this that. Well, bye. Because the thing about it is, if you're dealing with a bougie individual and you're not bougie yourself, then if you're going to go ahead and date her, you're going to accept that. You're telling her, I'm accepting what you are, who you are, and everything about you. So you can't turn around in 2 months when she wants to go to a high price restaurant and it's at the end of the month and you ain't got enough money because the month is ran out. You know, you can't complain about it because that's what you signed up for. So if you've been dating a person for a month, you done kind of got an idea of their personality and kind of seeing what they're about. And so, hey, if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. There's nothing wrong with that. Because like I said, this economy is not going to get no better, people. If you think it is, you're crazy. It's going to get worse. And as time goes on, when your mortgage is going up, your rent's going up, cars are more expensive. And so you got to look at things from a realistic point of view. It costs money to date. And if you don't have that kind of money, and you're dealing with somebody that thinks you have to have that kind of money, then she's not the one for you. She may look drop dead gorgeous, but see ya. Because the fact of the matter is, there's another bus coming down the street. If this bus don't want to ride right, get on the other. And so I just look at things as a more realistic thing. Hey, I can't afford to take you out to the fancy restaurant. We have to go to this one. If she's got a bulk against that, hey, that's all I can do. Accept me for who I am and what I have. If not, see ya.
Leslie said this. Don't take me out on Friday and your power end up off on Monday. So and some people would try that though. Some people would actually try that. Let me see what we have some good comments here. Let me get to them. Let me get to Charlene says, yes, it matters. Everybody is on a fixed income. Nina says this. I don't think it's appropriate to discuss finances while you're just dating, but each individual should be responsible enough to know if they are financially ready to be dating or be in a relationship. And Nina, and like I stated earlier, that some people use dating and relationship interchangeably, you know, and some people, and you said it's not appropriate while you're dating. Then when does the discussion? When do you feel the discussion should come up? Go back to what they say. Don't wait till she want to go or he want to go to a big fancy this or that to let them know, hey, I can't do this. So let me see who else. Kitty McCat says, yes, because if you're dating, it's with the idea in mind, could this be someone I could be in a relationship with? If the person, man or woman, is not financially secure or does not manage their money well, it could be indicative of how they will manage their money once they are in a relationship / marriage with you. Now, do y'all think that would be indicative of it? Could you learn from their spending habits, savings, or what have you? Or better yet, how they spend your money? Yeah, okay, yeah. How they spend your money? Spend it like this, their money. Yeah. Leslie said, if we're just getting to know one another, dating, you need to be able to afford to pay for yourself. I'm not paying for you in that season of dating phase. Yes, be honest. And you know what? Once you be honest, though, hey, it saves a lot of hurt and a lot of pain right there. And Jenna says, I never pretend, but I often think how men with serious money look at a woman with much less money. Like, how do they feel about that? And that's an interesting question right there. Who had their hand up? Yeah, Victor. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think that it's one of those things you hear. You hear people say, for them, the guys to be honest with their finances. But let's be real. You hear the postings almost every day, multiple times, something about the guy and the money. And that becomes, not me, because, it becomes for some people pressure. And they feel like they have to perform. And so, or they feel like they have to have certain types of dates or whatever. And so, like, I'll give an example. I've had some scenarios where I met up and the dates didn't cost anything. I think the last 2 times it didn't cost anything whatsoever, right? Can I afford to take them out? Yes. It just, we wasn't being pretentious. We were just being one another. One person, we met at Macy's and we just, I was getting something and, she wanted to come along. Or I remember a few years ago, someone else, we met at Best Buy because she needed some appliances. And so, we went looking at appliances. Didn't cost anything. And so could we have gone to somewhere nice and whatever? Yeah, sure. Could I afford it? Yeah, I could have. But I wasn't trying to impress her and they weren't trying to impress me. We were being real. We had phone conversations and we were being real. And so it was not an issue. They didn't cringe. I didn't cringe. It was fine. We got to know one another. So I think that a lot of times dating has become performance driven, and particularly with guys, and we got to do X, Y, and Z. And if we don't cough out for a lot of people's mindset, we don't cough out the money, then we're not a good provider, and it becomes pressure for some people. I had a friend of mine. They were on this limited income, very limited, and they would put everything on a credit card. And by the time they got married, they were sinking. But all throughout the time, every time we went to the restaurant, it was a credit card. And so,
and there's no telling what kind of interest was being charged and fees and everything else. So, Sister Jenkins, yeah.
I have I guess a question though, like who sets the tone for the financial part of it? A lot of times women will kind of look to see what he is doing, and that kind of sets the tone for the future. Like I know me personally, like when I've gone out to eat, I have never ordered any, especially if I knew he was paying, I have never ordered anything higher than what he's ordered. And that's just me. You know what I mean? Just trying to be respectful, and because because unless he says it, you don't know. And I would never want to put somebody in an awkward position. So then who kind of sets the tone? Is it the gentleman, or is it the female, the lady who sets the tone as far as the finances in general on a date?
But you know what? It could be flipped over, because you'll have a well-to-do woman and a not so well-to-do fella, And again, I think the one with the finances should be the one that sets the tone. But that's just my take right there.
Would you always know that though?
That's a good point. You know what? That's a good question right there. I probably doubt it, to be honest with you.
Maybe down the line as you're getting, maybe as the dating relationship changes into something perhaps more, you might, because I'm thinking back to when I was seeing my ex-husband, that we went on very simple dates, and and that's how we got to know each other. But then after we got married, I realized that how he handled his finances was completely ridiculous. And I can remember, especially during the time when you were writing more checks than like you would now, bouncing checks or bouncing our account over, $1 something Snapple. And it used to irritate me. I was like, how is it that you are bouncing? So now I'm paying a $30 fee because you're buying Snapple and it's not in your account. And those are things that I didn't see until afterwards, simply because we weren't overly, didn't spend a huge amount of money prior to getting married.
Leslie says, a girl told my brother she was waiting for him to wow her. Some women are setting a standard they are not willing to meet themselves.
Amen, Leslie. That's what
I agree. Good truths. All the good truths, Leslie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and Ursula says, I believe that we should treat each other each time we go on a date, or take turns to spend with each, knowing the budget of the other. The venue must be mutually agreed upon. State our budget for dining out. Now, how does that sound right there?
Reggie has
There's some honesty that comes into it.
Okay.
There's some honesty that comes into it, because we could say, we could agree that we're all going to whatever high quality restaurant that is. We could agree to that, but it doesn't mean that we can both afford that. We're just doing it for that moment.
Okay.
We really might agree that we should go to McDonald's and we both can afford that, but we're not going there. We're going to, where they, have the cow in the back and they're doing it all right there.
The counter.
Fresh, the fresh meat is right there because they've slaughtered it, before they put it on your plate. But
Oh, yeah, that's definitely medium rare, ain't it? Okay. Rachel, you had your hand up.
It's the circles that you surround yourself with that makes a difference too. If you're dating, for instance, a coworker, okay, and she's constantly complaining about her bills, and not paying her bills on time, okay, which probably means her credit probably is pretty low too. Well, if you're a person that pays your bills on time and you have a good credit rating, then that might be important to you to not deal with somebody that's like that, because if the situation progresses to a serious type of relationship, that means she's coming to you with a whole bunch of indebtedness. And once you say I do, and she carrying your last name, her stuff belongs to you, and vice versa. And so that's, in a dating situation, finances are important. How do you pay your bills? If you late on your rent every month, you can't pay your car note on time. No, because if you work too hard to establish yourself and have good credit, then why would you want to entail with somebody that don't give a darn about paying their bills on time? There's always robbing Peter to pay Paul. They're not going to change because they married to you. And so that's something that's an individual thing. If that's important to you, then that's something you should express that situation to her, or to him. Mm-hmm. Because it goes both ways. A lot of women got good credit. They don't want nobody but jacked up credit messing with them, because that's going to pull them down. Because like I said, once you get married, what he has and what she has comes to one. And so if they come with a lot of indebtedness, guess what? That's your indebtedness now.
Mm-hmm. Angela Morgan says finances do play a major part, especially if the man is self-employed or a blue-collar worker. The date should be mutually agreeable to where and how. And I saw a good one from Tia, and I think I had skipped all over it too. She made a good question. Yeah, here you go. I always wonder if folks spending big bank are trying to divert your attention away from their areas that need growth. Not all the time, but I just wonder. Could that be a diversion? Or that's like we say, overcompensating?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yep. Without, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Seen it happen more than once. I recall I dated a guy once. They had it was like a catering company. Mm-hmm. They were doing very well, very successful, him and a friend of his. And he hid a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff hidden. And when I started getting to know him, I found out a heck of a lot more that was hidden. That was, underneath the sheets that he kept covering. Old pastor used to say, if you cover up your feet, your head gonna show. And if you cover up your head, your feet gonna show. You ain't lied about that, because it's gonna come out in the wash. I don't care how clean you make it look, it'll come out in the wash. We really have to be careful about the mindset of it. When you're first dating or first getting to know someone, yeah, you're going to always put your best foot forward. But looky here, after a while, you give it a month, give it 30 days. You start seeing another person that you didn't think you've seen before. That other person kick in real quick. And you get to know who that person really is. By month 3, if you last that long, you done seen a whole different new ball game. because Queen turned into Queen Dumb, or bride turned into Bridezilla. Yeah, one of them kind of things. Yeah, that'll come out. He as far as I'm concerned, Hulk or what was his name? What was Hulk's name? He turned into Hulk real quick.
David Banner.
David Banner.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
David
Yeah.
Banner. Yeah.
I can
No, truth is
testify
truth.
to that. My first wife, we got married on a Friday. Unbeknownst to me, she quit her job on Monday.
Oh, wow.
She want to be a kept woman. So yeah, yeah. You might not see everything in the dating process. Did you put that ring on that finger? Or you see a whole lot of stuff that you didn't know was there.
That's why it's good to take your time to get to know.
Truth is truth, regardless of if it's a negative truth or a positive truth. Truth always will surface. It may take a little while, but it will always surface at some point if you wait long enough to kind of see, the kernels rising up. Truth is always truth.
Let me read this and then we'll get to Victor. Wanda says, I don't mind having initial meetups that don't cost anything. I do prefer a man to initiate a first dinner date. No problem with that. I would definitely reciprocate. We can treat each other. I do look at financial stewardship because it is very important to me. Okay, Victor.
I think that with, just dating, times have changed. And I think that if you're on a track with a person, you can always grow up. It's hard to scale down. And I think if we go into dating just very simple and basic, and it can show a lot, because can you appreciate the small thing? Can you appreciate the coffee? Can you appreciate going to the ice cream place? Or I remember someone had a post one time during this week, going to the candy store. Can the person appreciate those simple things that can be very fun and creative? But has we've been so socialized that those things are so devalued that if it is suggested in the beginning, it's despised because it'll be perceived. Or you remember there was times where there was talk of the guy using discount or something when they're going on the date. And it would be looked down that he's doing the discount on the date. But it's like, excuse me, it would look down on him, but you ain't pay for nothing. So if it's bad on him and you ain't pay for nothing, you're looking up because you ain't pay for nothing. But that's looked down upon. But that could be going to what Wanda said, financial stewardship.
And it goes back to, I remember back in the early 2000s, I think that's when it became an issue. Like, would you date somebody that uses coupons or use 2-for-1 meals or what have you, though? And like you said, Victor, you're not paying for it, so why does it matter to you? It's not coming out of your pocket, and you're about to get a good meal. We shouldn't be picky. I wouldn't be picky. But then that's just me. Maybe I'm just, a country man from Alabama, I guess. Jenna says, I love good coffee. Come on, we can go sit in the coffee shop and talk and use a coupon. That's attractive to me. Okay. So
Reggie had his hand up.
Okay, Reggie, go ahead.
During the dating process, I got in a situation some years back, actually, about my first year here in Columbia. I met this young lady at Red Lobster, and we went to the Riverwalk Zoo, and I let her know where I lived at. Well, the mask came off pretty quickly, and she became a stalker. and to the point where I almost had to call Richland County Deputy Sheriff's Office. So what I'm saying is, once you get to know that person, then instead of always going to a restaurant, if the man can cook, there's no more romantic settings in your home with a candlelight dinner with the woman you're trying to get to know. You ain't got to go out there and spend a whole bunch of money in a restaurant, because bottom line is that don't really impress women. They may say it impress them, but a home cooked meal by your man, that goes a long way, because hey, if a man can cook, that time you got a lot of men chefs out there, and they got a whole lot of women following them. Why? Because women like a man who knows around the kitchen. That means she ain't got to do it all. And so therefore, what's wrong with a home cooked meal? But get to know the person first before you let them in your house. Unless you got ADT and you got a panic button that you can hit real quick. Because everybody ain't wrapped tight. Okay? So, safety is always
But
trust me, been there, done that.
Okay. Cookie Man is the sexiest man ever. Okay. Well, Andrea and Kirsten, do y'all agree that y'all are more impressed with a home cooked meal from a man than from a restaurant?
Absolutely. That would definitely be more impressive to me than to going and buying a $200 meal. Because at the end of the day, you done went and bought a $200 meal, and now you all we are is full. We're gonna burp and be moving on in a matter of a couple of hours. when you can have a meal cooked at home, you might be able to have enough to have leftovers for the next day. I mean, it's just it's kind of one of those mindsets to me that what do you do after? What happens after you've done all of this other stuff? You got to think beyond day one. You done spent $300 on a meal, but you talking about going out at the end of the week. You done already spent $300, so now you got to wait to get paid again before you can take the person out a second time. Why? When you could cook at home, have a good meal, and don't get me wrong, it is. I did definitely hear the fact of get to know the person before you bring them to your home. But it is an idea. I also seen someone else that said, I'm not going into anyone's home in the dating stage. Well, you have to be careful. Of course, you have to have a mindset of, are we adults enough to be able to handle ourselves inside of someone else's home? It's all about temptation. It's all about, you placing yourself in a position. We have to learn how to be adults and learn how to be able to go into a home and enjoy a meal or kick back and watch TV. They talking Netflix and chill, and you know what that could lead to. Well, that's only if you have that kind of a mindset. We have to be able to be adults and be grown and know how to cross your legs and enjoy a meal and be functional and get to know the person. So,
okay.
Yeah, that's my 10 cents.
Okay. And like I said, just go to their house and know how to act. Pretty much right there. So, we all been talking about food this and food that. So I think this makes an interesting segue to our next topic. And this has been a topic that's, causes fights in groups such as SBC and SBCC and BSL and other similar groups. It's been the age-old question about dinner. So like I said, since we're talking about dinner and who gets served first. So, and here's a little video. Watch this.
Hey, TikTokers. Ooh, baby, some of y'all ain't give me a chance to put my wig on. The rest of y'all, my supporters, and y'all scoot on over to the side. Let me tell y'all something when it comes to a man, my husband, because I can't speak for nobody else. And I'm sick of people asking this question. Who you feed first? A man or the kids? The kids come first, the man come first, or whoever come first in your house. Let me tell you something. We all don't have the same lifestyle, okay? Okay? Some of y'all may get food stamps. Some of y'all working and providing food for your household. Yes, ladies, some of y'all ladies working or either get food stamps and you're providing the food for your household. And this man just coming over eating. I don't blame you feed your kids first. If that's the case, no. But when you got a provider and a protector and every piece of food come through that door, come from his blood and sweat, yeah, you gonna feed him first. Yes. Because guess what? When my kids grown now, but when they was coming up, yes, they done ate at school all day. Then when they busting through the door before they get in the door good, they snacking, eating. My husband on work from dusk to dawn, and baby, when he come through this door falling out, yeah, we all getting on the kids. Y'all pulling boots off while I'm in here fixing the plate. And yeah, we finna get daddy together because daddy makes sure we good. So if you ain't had that, you would never understand the concept if you ain't had that, okay? So don't come for me. I'm just letting you know. Until you have it, then you won't understand it. So until then, you keep feeding your kids first. And when you get that, then you make sure that black king get the big piece of chicken, okay? Feed him first and make sure he get the big piece of chicken because he deserve it. Okay? Damn sure ain't no need to talk this to them. Y'all have a good day, TikTok.
The big piece of chicken, y'all. So the big piece of chicken. So comes the question. Okay, Kirsten. So here comes the question. Who should be served first? The husband or the children?
I'm
I think
sorry. She reminded me of Josette so much. I was
That's hilarious.
Victor, please.
the evangelist has spoken. The lady, I think she did a good job. I think it's very subjective.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you got to know the person you're with. What works best for one house may not be good for another house. But then knowing not just the person, but knowing their culture. Because there's certain cultures that, and I don't mean culture as in race, but just cultures as in people's background, that how they grew up. There's some people who grew up where the man did sit at the head of the table and, his plate was first. There's some where that may have not been the case. And I think it's just important to know the person you're in relationship with and, come to some understanding so that, have prior conversations before things happen. Just talk about it to see where the person's at. You know, like some people may not want to be paper plates or may not certain things, that could be significant.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not
Okay.
a right or wrong, it's just depending on that person.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Kirsten.
So I was brought up in old school church. My aunt, the first lady of the church, she would tell everybody and anybody, feed your husband first, and then the children. And then of course I've heard I ain't feeding my husband first. I'm making sure my kids eat, because he can if he had to make his own plate when the kids can't necessarily do so. So I've heard both sides. Um, what I would do uh, in a situation where my husband and my kids needed to eat, it definitely, I feel the same as Victor. It would be subjective to what that's definitely a conversation, communication kind of thing for me. Um, because me personally, I believe that the kids, small children that are unable to feed themselves or to necessarily fix their plates themselves, should be able to sit down at the table and have a meal. But you're going to make sure that the husband get the big piece of chicken if that's what he likes. So, amen.
The huge piece of chicken. Andrea.
I agree with VL too. It really is the environment in which you grew up with, and then the environment which he grew up with, and that communication needs to happen. I mean, thinking back
Mhm.
to my childhood, my mom was a stay home person. My dad was the one that worked, but when it came time for meals, it wasn't necessarily about who got it first, but all the food was on the table. We all helped put the serving dishes or whatever on the table, and you kind of did it like that. So I don't necessarily remember my dad being first, or or us being first. And the only time that I do remember that actually happening is if we knew that my dad was not coming home till late, then we would go ahead and eat, you know. And I did the same thing with my son and his dad. I would just fix all the plates together, come get your plates, or I would put everything down at the same time. So it wasn't about my son first, dad first. It was, we all did it together. But I understand that because I had a coworker who grew and she used to share, she grew up in an environment where her mother always put whatever man at that time was in her life before her children. And there were times when they would go hungry because she would give all the food to the boyfriend.
Mm.
And then, there were times they didn't have to eat because he ate everything, and there was no, and because of her mindset, when she had her own children, those children ate first, and you had to understand that because of where she came from, you know. But again, that goes back to, the root of anything in a relationship comes back to communication, and you have to understand, what people may or may not have experienced. You know, I think one of the biggest lessons that I learned coming out of marriage was that my marriage could not be the marriage of, you know, Pastor Ronald and Mildred Jenkins. I had to make it my own, and I couldn't expect the things that happened in my growing up home to be the same in my married home, because we had two different types of life. And that was the biggest thing that I walked away from, establishing my own home and what those rules and what those things look like, as opposed to thinking that I'm just going to transfer the Jenkins home into, you know, my married life home.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me get to Tracy Singletary. Glad to have you here, sir. You and I need to talk. Okay, good to see you. If the family is seated together and he is the breadwinner, the food passed from the father to the children. Okay, and Sheila Nimrod says, "Y'all forgive me. It sounds like some of the questions and/or responses come from a place of lack. If there is plenty who cares who gets served first, maybe I'm missing the point or thinking too narrowly." Mm. So, and Marcus says, "Feed everyone, including yourself. There's no wrong answer as to who gets served first. The fellowship table is for all in the household. God blesses everyone with." Is it that simple, y'all? Is the solution that simple? Reginald.
Well, I can only speak for myself. I can never remember a time that my mother made my dad's plate.
Mm.
Ever. Uh, when she cooked or he cooked, food would put on the table, and you fixed your own plate. Now, the love of my life, she would fix me a plate, and the first time she did, I felt really uncomfortable. And now that I'm in my 60s and been on my own for so long, for somebody to fix my plate, it just feels out of place because I've been doing it myself so long. So why should I have somebody fix my? And plus, she might not even know what I want. and she put on stuff on the plate I don't even want to eat. So no. Now, in my age group, we ain't talking kids. Kids are grown and got kids of their own. So now you may be talking about grandkids, and if they old enough to sit at the table, they don't put their own food on their own plate. Period. And so this notion about the husband get fed, where is that written at? That's your individual and how basically how you were raised and what your environment was. If you saw that, if you saw your dad getting fed by your mother, then you probably would expect that in your wife. But if your mom ain't never fixed a plate for your daddy, he fixed his own plate. And like I said, for me, I'll probably be one doing the cooking in the first place. So I'm bringing the food to the table and you get what you want to get because you know how much you can eat and you know what you want. So why should I be fixing your plate? I got hands. I can do my own plate. No, I don't need no woman to fix my plate ever. Even at church, those sisters always bring the food to the table for the preachers. I feel so uncomfortable. I'm like, I got legs. I ain't gonna get my own darn food. I gotta have you bringing me food. Plus, what if you just sneezed on my food? No. That's some old school bull crap. Fix your own plate. Now, if you got little bitty kids that can't do it, yes. But if them suckers are old enough to get to the table and they're able to talk, they can fix their own plate because they know what they want to eat in the first place. Why waste food? You put on that plate, I don't want this. And then you sit up there mad because the kid ain't eating the food. No, if they're old enough to sit at the table and know what they want, let them get for what they want. And this husband get fed for us. So what? Because he brought the food in the house. Who cares? Who cares how the food got in it? Somebody had to cook it, right? Somebody had to slave over the stove. And he put it on the table so you ate. This, I guess I'm just old school. That ain't me. No. I'm gonna fix my plate. No, ma'am. No, I fix my because I know how much I want to eat, and I know what I want on my plate. She might put on some baked chicken. I don't know about baked chicken. I want fried chicken. No, you mess. Let me get my own food. Get my own drink. I'm just independent. Now, maybe she got to deal with that. Now, Patricia. She had to deal with that. I'm like, Pat, this is nice for the first time, but honey, let me fix my own plate. No disrespect. That's just me. I know what I want on my plate. I know how much I want on my plate. You may be trying to put me on a diet. Nah. Let me do my own. That's just me.
Reginald, after you told her about you didn't want that on the plate, did you end up in the ER?
No. Because Patricia was a different kind of female. Now, we was together for 21 years, so we know each other in and out. When her kids prefer me to cook over their own mama, what'd I tell you? Okay? So I said, you cook like a white woman. You got no seasoning in the food. I ain't want no bland food. Why am I put some seasoning in the food? No. So from then on, I cooked all the meals and put on the table and we ate. As simple as what it was. I'm like, no. I said, I spent 4 years in the Navy, learned how to be a chef. I know how to cook, and my daddy was a chef. He taught me everything he knows. I don't need a woman to cook for me. Never. And most of the time, they probably can't outcook me in the first place. So therefore, let me do the cooking. Let me do the serving. I'll fix my own plate. Now, I can fix her plate if she want me to fix her plate. That's fine with me. But no, not the reverse. No, I don't even want to fix my plate. I'm out.
Okay.
Mike, what do you prefer? You have a preference? I'm just asking.
Honestly, I don't have a preference. Not only I don't have a preference, it may be a time that I may serve her and the kids. It doesn't bother me. And I think we said this last year during a Tuesday Talk about serving company. I wouldn't let that responsibility fall solely on my wife. She and I both would be serving the guests, but that's just how I am, just used to being serving, being a diakonos, a servant. So I'm just used to that though. Now I still like to eat though, Then I kind of sort of agree with what Reginald says. Let me kind of pick what I want to put on here. Like you said, you might have sneezed or some of your hair fell in there. I mean, anything could have happened though. I mean, no, give me my old food though. I mean, look at my head, so none of this hair gonna fall in there. So give me my own food though, right? Okay, good. Uh any more else before any Andrea? What do you prefer since you asked me?
Honest, I mean, I will go with whatever he wants, but I like the idea of serving his plate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not necessarily over anybody else, but that's just me. I like being able to do that. That's
Mm-hmm.
just like a love language of my own. So I like to be able to go in the kitchen, and I'll ask the question. I won't just throw everything on the plate though. I'll ask, this is what we have. What do you want? You know, but I like to be able to do that and bring it to wherever he's at, whether it's in front of the TV or whatever. But that's just me.
Mm-hmm. And to kind of piggyback on what Reginald said, I myself, I'm not too used to being served by someone else outside of a restaurant. You know, I feel kind of, I mean, I appreciate it, you know, even when I was in the hospital. Obviously, I was getting served food there, and it felt kind of odd though, because I just wasn't used to it. But I'm used to being a servant though. So,
Some of it is like a personality kind of thing. Because I mean, there's certain things that I just like to do. I don't mind. And once again, this is just Andrea. I don't mind doing like his laundry. I don't mind doing certain things, but that's just me. And it just makes it's for me. It's like just a way of showing my love or whatever the case may be. But if that's not something that speaks to him, that's fine too. But I'm just like a spoiler kind of person. So all those little kind of things I'm gonna automatically do until he says something different. Because if he comes to me, it's like, Andrea, I'm really not feeling you, serving my plate. Have at it. There's the kitchen. You know.
yeah, I understand. I understand. I think the bottom line to this is just it depends on the environment, from your background, culture, what have you. So it really just depends, though. So it may not be a wrong answer. It just depends on the individual, depends on the household, depends on a lot of other mitigating factors. So, and with that said, folks, we are out of time. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Victor.
And it doesn't. I think sometimes with that particular thing, because sometimes you can think
Oh man.
negative views could be made regarding the person who may want to institute that. They may want to be served first or something, and it doesn't necessarily. We may interpret it as being negative. It may not be derived out of something negative, as it is just tradition
Mm-hmm.
or conditioning and stuff like. Because sometimes you could look at a person as saying they're insecure or they're shallow or they're narcissistic or something, and it's not even a basis. That's just you interpreting it as being such, and it's no right or wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. It's no right or wrong. It just depends on the household and everything else, folks. Uh, with that said, we are out of time. It's been a good one. This hour and 4 minutes went by fast. So it's time for the announcements. Um, Andrea, could you do it for me? Oh, I'll do it then. Okay, that's no problem. Uh, Let me get to it though. Where are they? Okay, coming up next at half past this hour, we will have the after party. It'll be a Zoom link. Will be posted in the group. Just click on it, enjoy, and have a good time. And we have a great conversation. Since it's Tuesday, we won't be in there too much long. come Saturday, we will have Saturday Night Social. We have a great time there. We stay in there a little bit longer than what we do on Tuesday, but we still have a good time though. And on Tuesday, next Tuesday, I'll start us over again with another edition of Tuesday Talk. Please bring your seat belts, your nerve pills, your tonic, and everything else so you can prepare for next week's show, okay? So, with that said, it's been good. Been a good show. Thank you to Andrea, BL, Reginald, and Kirsten for your input this night. And thank you to the video audience out there. Thank you for your support. And thank you for supporting this show. And if there's nothing else, we'll see y'all next week, okay? So y'all take care. Bye-bye, y'all.
Let's take some time and think for a minute. What's going on? And are we with it? I just a phone call away, but if no one calls, it's another day. How can I explain to you what I feel and what is true? And how can I do my best? How do you? How do you? I hear the things that people say, don't believe, 'cause it's not that way. I know what I'm talking about. I'm here, baby, and have no doubt. What you want from me? I can't take it. Can't you see?